Hi, Chef Riddick here, and today we're going to talk about making a roux. I learned to cook down in southern Louisiana, where pretty much their whole slogan of their whole entire cuisine is, first you make a roux. There's a lot of different kinds of roux. There's white roux, blonde roux, there's a place in between dark where they call it peanut butter roux, and there's dark roux, and some people will even swear by the fact that you can make black roux. It might add a little bit bitter flavor, but it is possible. I have seen it done. Today, in Louisiana, it's getting towards the time of year where they start making their gumbos. It starts to cool off, so everyone wants something like nice and hearty, savory, something familiar to them, and gumbo is a big part of their tradition. So I figured, why not show y'all how I do my dark roux. So I've had the oil here in a pan. It's been preheating. You can make a roux with butter, you can make a roux with oil. It doesn't matter as long as it's equal parts butter to flour or oil to flour. And when you use an oil, usually when you use a neutral oil like vegetable or canola oil, it's got a high smoke point and it can take a lot of heat to it, and it doesn't really alter any flavor like olive oil or extra virgin would. So today we're using canola oil. I got a half cup of oil in the pan. It's been heating up for probably about 5-10 minutes. It's getting close to its smoke point. This is kind of a cheat way to make a dark roux fast. Otherwise, you're just gonna sit here and you're gonna be stirring. I've seen people take 20 minutes to make a roux. This is a little trick to get to your dark roux a little bit faster. You push your oil right to about its smoking point. Half cup oil, half cup flour. See a little sizzle? You just start stirring and don't stop stirring. I learned a lesson in school. It's called a diamond. For some reason, the burns you get from roux are dramatically worse than the burns you get from anything else. Hot oil on your skin. I had one on my thumb. It was a pretty good sized diamond. I don't know what carat you'd call it, but it was pretty hardcore. So here you can see, this would probably be what's considered about a blonde roux. A white roux you do on low heat. You would just literally combine the oil and the flour or butter, whichever you choose to use. And it would just be mixing it together until it's melted. That's your blonde roux. That's got the highest thickening power. Next is blonde roux. It's got a little less thickening power. And then it goes down to like a peanut butter roux, a dark roux. And the longer you cook the roux, the darker you take it, the less thickening power it has. So here we're already starting to get into our brown a little bit. Nice little light brown going on. We want to take it to about peanut butter, probably. So the way I do this, you get the oil nice and hot, you start cooking it, and as soon as you get to that peanut butter color, you take it off the heat. You let it sit. And as it sits, probably take about 10-15 minutes, start cooling off, and you just stir it a couple times, and it'll continue to darken. You don't want to take it all the way to a dark roux right away, because then you'll end up with something closer to a black roux, or, get some bitter, weird flavors going on, all that good stuff. So you can see we're getting darker. And then you might at some point kind of come along the way and you might see like your flour clumping up and it might kind of seem like the roux is going to break or, it's going to come apart. That's fine. All that is the gluten in the flour activating, reacting with the heat. So as you, like I was saying, I pull it off that peanut butter, let it cool. As it cools, it'll come back together and be more of a roux. Also, another key to making your gumbo and the benefit of letting it sit is with your roux, the oil will kind of sink to the top and the roux will sit to the bottom. And then instead of putting all that fat and oil in your gumbo or whatever you're cooking, etouffee, gumbo, so many things take a roux. It's pretty much all of southern Louisiana cooking. It's less you have to skim off at the end. I don't know about y'all, but I really can't stand sitting there skimming a pot. It's like, for some reason, it's one of the most tedious tasks, and I just really don't like doing it. So any step I can take that avoids me having to do that, I'll typically do it. So I know you can't smell it, but it kind of starts to smell like burnt popcorn. And everybody kind of gets afraid of that factor too, but it's a good thing, I promise. It's one of those weird smells that you kind of become oddly partial to. So now if you can picture peanut butter, we're getting pretty close. It's not that bad. I want to take it a little bit darker, but you can kind of see the little flecks in there that are kind of starting to separate. Like I was saying, that's the gluten activating. Those are a little bit darker than the rest. So you got to keep in mind, it's looking at the bigger picture here. You got to kind of have a little bit of intuition with it. But there are tons of trains of thought on roux, when to add it, how to add your vegetables to it, if you do the vegetables first, then the roux. It's an age-old debate, but a lot of classical cooking starts with a roux. So in my opinion, this is about peanut butter color. I'm gonna pull that off. And it might not seem like a dark roux yet, but as I let it sit over there for about 10-15 minutes and stir it occasionally, it's gonna keep darkening. It's gonna keep cooking. The oil holds a lot of heat. And there you go. And now you can stop whisking. You're not doing it anymore. But if you stop whisking, like I was saying about the diamonds, you're in for a surprise. When it pops up, it burns you. And I don't care how good of a cook you are. You walk away from that roux, you're probably gonna get hurt. So we're gonna let that sit. And then we're gonna get the rest of our gumbo going. But that is how you make a dark roux. As far as the questions go, things about cooking, or what makes me excited or what passionate about cooking, I just love it. It's one of those things you can spend your whole entire life learning. It's so ubiquitous and you can never learn it all. There's not enough time in life. There's not enough time to spend traveling, trying to gather it all. And the sad reality of being a chef is that ultimately, you'll probably forget more about food than most people will ever choose to learn in their lives. But I just love how you can learn so much and you can feed people, you can make people happy. It's kind of its own little love language where there's no better feeling than sitting down and watching a group of people enjoy your food, talk about it, taste something they've never tasted before, taste something that you kind of poured your heart into and put the art on the plate, just kind of did. It's a fun passion. It's what kind of keeps me going. And I just like hospitality and giving people a time that they might not normally experience. And as far as my favorite cooking tips, I've had a lot of old school chefs down south telling me there's two most important things in cooking. One, heat control. Can't do anything without knowing how to control your flame, control your electric burners. Doesn't matter what you're using. Have to have some kind of knowledge of heat, how to cook, how to adjust, how not to scorch the bottom of your pot and make a whole thing bitter. And the second thing would be building flavor. I had a chef that told me once, never miss an opportunity to add flavor. And at the time, I was a pretty young chef. I didn't really know what he meant. But as I started cooking more and I started doing more and just learning, I kind of got to understand it. Oh, you might see all those fawns in the bottom of your pan, the brown, people think that's bad, they're burning something. No, you want those, that's all flavor. So you find a way to add the next ingredient that can deglaze that pan, pull it up, build the flavor. Those are the two most important things, heat control and building flavor. You do those two things, you're already gonna be out to a better start than most cooks out there. And you'd be amazed how people don't have a good foundation of that. And then on top of that, just have fun. Food is fun. It's supposed to be a fun experience. It's very cathartic. It's something we can all enjoy. And the one thing we can't avoid in life is eating. We have to do it. So you might as well enjoy it when you do.